$1,500 for a Mitchell's Tudor Black Band. You pay almost $10,000 for a Rolex. And a Royal Oak extra thin, it costs like $36,000. Cheap is not a word that applies.
Y'all should see, Tisa, where are the watch manufacturers? I did some digging and I found the watch manufacturers. There is a new scandal coming out of the luxury watch division. Listen, if you want to keep going to Rolex, if you want to keep going to AP and spending your money, go and do that. However, industry insiders are coming out, and I have their videos. People have even been fired from it for lifting the hood away from.
Jacob Arabo stared out over Manhattan from his sleek office, the city lights reflecting off rows of glittering timepieces. His phone kept buzzing, clients, attorneys, reporters, all wanting an explanation. Less than a day earlier, rumors exploded online that some of his most famous watches weren't really Swiss-made. Instead, they were allegedly built entirely, or in large part, in a factory in Shenzhen, China. It started as a murmur on niche watch forums. Someone claiming to be an ex-inspector at a Chinese plant shared photos and documents. They showed parts nearly identical to Jacob and Kaber Ra's creations rolling off a Chinese assembly line. A Reddit thread then matched those leaked images to the company's own marketing photos. The similarities were too glaring to ignore. Next, a nameless insider told the press these pieces were only finished in Switzerland, just enough to satisfy the loose rule that 60% of production costs happen there. Critics immediately cried foul, calling the Swiss label more of a sales trick than a guarantee. When global media picked up the story, wealthy customers, from oil magnates to tech CEOs, started questioning their purchases. Private notes poured into Jacob's customer service. Some wanted their money back, others threatened lawsuits, and a few simply vanished, cutting ties forever. Behind the scenes, Jacob was furious. He maintained he'd never authorized full assembly in China. He said his contract only allowed foreign firms to handle non-essential elements, and it spelled out that he'd get full disclosure and strict quality checks. Determined to clear his name, he sued the Shenzhen factory. His lawyers claimed the plant had secretly copied entire watch designs, then sold the replicas on the gray market, flooding it with near-identical fakes. As that legal battle began, whispers about wider industry cheating grew louder. Collectors and bloggers hinted that many luxury brands quietly use overseas parts and factories, then slap Swiss on the dial while charging top dollar. Investigative. Writers even found shell companies obscuring where watches really came from. Once celebrated as the jeweler to the stars, Jacob now faced his toughest test. His reputation and his business hung by a thread. In interviews, he insisted he'd been duped, just like everyone else. He framed his lawsuit as a fight for honesty in a business too often hidden behind glossy ads. The upcoming court dates will be watched by everyone from rival watchmakers to social media influencers. People want to know if Jacob & Co. is an outlier or the tip of an iceberg. Will this scandal end blind loyalty to high-end labels? Or will it be buried under another round of PR and fancy promises? For Jacob Arabo, one thing is clear. Once buyers begin to doubt, their trust never recovers the same way. And in the luxury watch world, credibility is everything.
Watches come in different sizes. A small dial makes your wrist slimmer, while a large one makes you a stronger arrow. First of all, you need to determine your budget range. The Rolex Data Dress is the best choice for
that fancy Rolex you're wearing. What if it isn't really what you paid for? Imagine that prized Swiss creation was actually built under stark fluorescent lighting in a non-stop factory in Shenzhen. Right now, the world of high-end watches isn't just feeling squeezed, it's unraveling. Chinese manufacturers have revealed they're using genuine components and authentic processes, mirroring the quality you assumed only Switzerland could deliver. Suddenly, collectors are asking the question luxury brands dread: if these pieces are truly Swiss, why do they bear the marks of Guangdong? This isn't about knockoffs. It's about real parts, real factories, and a multi-billion-dollar dream that's finally cracking. It's time to pull back the velvet curtain and see how deep this goes, gear by gear, revelation by revelation.
Go on, Fire Herald.
Why?
The watch is a fake.
What fake about it?
According to the serial number,
It doesn't work.
Picture this. You think your Rolex was carefully made in a quiet Swiss village by an old craftsman in a cozy sweater, focused through a tiny lens. It's a comforting story, but it's far from the truth. The real center of watchmaking today is Shenzhen, China, a hub filled with cutting-edge technology and highly skilled workers. These modern factories produce high-quality parts like sapphire glass, polished steel bands, and bezels that often meet or beat Swiss quality. Here's the surprise. Many of these factories openly supply parts to brands like Rolex, Omega, and Tag Heuer. No secrets, no cover-ups. They even have catalogs and price lists. That replica watch that looks almost identical, it might not be fake at all, just missing a logo. The label Swiss made doesn't mean what most people think. Only 60% of the watch's total value needs to come from Switzerland. That includes final assembly and some polishing in Geneva. So your luxury watch could be made almost entirely in China, sent to Switzerland for a quick touch-up, and still legally carry the Swiss name. In the end, it's not just a timepiece you're buying. You're paying for a story, a powerful illusion dressed up as tradition.
95% of the world's watches are made here, including the one you're wearing right now. Many big brand watches are produced or sourced parts from here. This place is Shenzhen City, the world watch capital city. And in Shenzhen, you must not miss it.
This whole scandal didn't start in fancy magazines. It broke on Reddit, YouTube, and TikTok. Anonymous factory workers and former staff began posting pictures of watch components side by side with parts from Chinese factory catalogs. They showed movements shipped in bulk, empty cases marked Swiss made, and brand stickers applied only at the last minute. One veteran expert even says he lost his job after pointing out that supposedly Swiss-made pieces had suspicious origins. Why haven't big outlets covered this? Simple. Luxury houses pay for glossy spreads and red carpet features. Top influencers get free timepieces, VIP invites, and hefty bonuses. Criticize the system, and those gifts disappear. So traditional media stays quiet. But creators with nothing to lose are blowing the lid off. Even Rolex quietly slashed prices. 10-20% on marquee lines like the Submariner and GMT, especially in Europe and Asia. No fanfare, no press release, just emergency damage control to calm angry collectors. It didn't work. Instead, buyers dug deeper, discovering that Chinese workshops now openly build parallel versions. Identical designs, the same molds, the exact components, just without the logo. You pick your dial, crystal, bracelet, they polish, box, and ship it. These aren't basement fakes, but factory-grade copies, sometimes made from leftover original stock. This direct-to-customer model operates via Telegram channels and WhatsApp groups. You pay a fraction of retail, around $2,500 to build a watch that sells for $10,000. The rest of the cost? Marketing, distribution, and brand mystique. Meanwhile, smaller labels like Christopher Ward or Nomos show exactly what goes into their pieces, forging trust instead of secrecy. Ask yourself, why pay a 500-700% markup for a name rather than craftsmanship? A Rolex proclaims success, belonging, and insider access. But once you doubt its origin, that confidence collapses. You'll hear whispers behind you, feel eyes on your wrist, and find yourself constantly explaining, deflecting questions, and second-guessing every glance. A perfect replica might fool a photographer, but it can never soothe your unease. True luxury isn't steel or logos. It's the quiet certainty that what you wear is genuine. When that faith disappears, every shimmer feels hollow. Every tick echoes tension. Instead of comfort, you endure stress. Instead of pride, you live in fear of exposure. So where do we go from here? Now you know Swiss made doesn't guarantee Swiss craftsmanship. You see how limited editions and brand stories create desire, more than quality does. But this revelation can empower you. As a buyer, You can demand transparency, compare costs, and choose products that align with your values. Maybe you'll opt for an homage that fits your budget. Maybe you'll save for a verified original. Or perhaps you'll discover that a Seiko tells time just as well as a Daytona. Real status in 2025 isn't about proving wealth to strangers. It's about owning your decision. It's about understanding the full story behind what you wear and never settling for a fairy tale. Luxury should feel effortless, not fraught. And once you strip away the marketing veneer, you reclaim control. That's the real flex. Buying confidently on your own terms, free from illusions and pretenses.